Time. Okay. Hi, Tshidi, I'm Wyllie.
Hello, Thabiso.
Are you well?
I'm blessed.
Emma, isn't it big?
What can I say? Okay. We are getting there.
Yeah.
In empowering people, we are getting there in our health. We are seeing the figures of COVID. It's like they're going down. I don't know if that has to do with the temperatures or not, or whether it has to do with our behavior, and that we are implementing the protocols. So
observe the protocols and week 11, emotionally and physically in sync. The transactional analysis and assertive communication. I just transactional analysis. What is this animal?
Let me take us back to last week. You remember there was a man assertiveness.
Yeah.
There was a caller, a gentleman who called and said, assertiveness is not that simple. People have to realize that you have to analyze, process, digest before you can articulate what you want.
Yeah.
He had gone ahead of what we were going to talk about. We are looking at transactional analysis and assertive communication today. TA. Hore etswa kae e amana yang e ka re thusa yang e lebelela eng. Transactional analysis in simpler terms e tebagantse le gore e lebelle the personalities tsa batho le boitsholo ja batho, behaviours, personalities and behaviours of people. It helps us to be able to understand mehuta e harologaneng ya batho, mekgwa e harologaneng ya batho, boitsholo jo bo harologaneng ja batho, le gore ba dirisanya yang o ba buisanya jang a ba tsepama ga ba batla go bua, mme ba tsepame mo puong ya bone ya se ba batlang go bua ka ga sone, ba sa gatake ope ditshwanelo le dikeletso tsa bone.
I make how good you can think on a lay this concept, their transactional analysis. Does it have some sort of impact? Or hey, left, right, and center. Am I going to be grow up to be that person?
This is a very good question. Theory of transactional analysis it developed when I did Eric Bene. The first 5 years of our lives are critical. What we experience, what we observe as children at that time becomes embedded in us, in our feelings, in our emotions, and forms part of our belief systems. Which is why dilo tse ileng gore re behave ka teng, re akanya ka teng, re bua ka teng, go na le go go tswang teng. Go na le se se re agileng to become what we are. Our belief system, our growing up, our upbringing have to a certain extent shaped who we become. It shapes who we become. So as parents, therefore, we have to be cognizant of the fact that what we do malapeng, what we say malapeng, how we treat our children and how we speak to them is going to form part of their belief system. And then we are actually grooming them, because at that age they don't have the vocabulary to express themselves on how they feel and what they want. When you scold him, you shout at him, rather what that does is that is processed, it becomes a data, a form of Maikutlo. It becomes feelings and it becomes emotions. In the future, when they encounter something like that, those memories, those actions, those emotions come to the surface and then affect the way we communicate. One can say, for example, I may ask you, Thabiso, when you were a child, when you were shouted at, when you were scolded, what reaction did you take? How did you feel? What did you say? Some cry. Again, you probably cried. Others just shout back at the mom, shout back at the parents, shout back at whoever is scolding them. Babambana, they do that. Others just cry and sulk and go and hide in a corner somewhere. So you find that now in this era, when you are now an adult, I may ask you, Hore, when now at this point, you are an adult, you are in relationships, you are interacting with other people, when things don't go your way, how do you respond? How do you react?
I get into my little corner there.
You find yourself doing what? Say your supervisor, your boss, your CEO, Ramuteu shouts at you and scolds you. I'm just using him as an example. Do you shout back at him and
you just sulk into your little corner there. Then you just you find other ways of the coping mechanisms. Could be watching TV, could be taking your mind off
drinking,
things,
alcohol, could be smoking excessively because you are trying to, you didn't have the opportunity to say anything to that at that time. So it's inside of you, it's killing you inside. You didn't say anything, so you use strategies that may not be healthy and may not be good for you. So that is why communication and transactional analysis today, because we are using it in our day-to-day communication. We are using it in our day-to-day transactions and dealing with people. Let's start with transaction. Transaction, when people see the word transaction, they're thinking of banking. They're thinking of finances, right? But you find that even in communication, there's transaction. The same way that you orange money, and then you wait to get a report that says the message has arrived or the money has arrived. And the other person respond back to you to say, I've received it. Communication is the same. It requires analysis. It requires engagement. It's a two-way aspect. Is a two-way exercise where you speak and you wait for the other person to respond. So it's an exchange. It's a transaction. I say something, I wait for you, you respond. We are transacting as we are doing that. That is how transaction is related to communication. But then somebody may say, but how do you transact? Ubuisanya jang li babang wabela na yang megopolo le babang onela na yang megopolo le babangwe o hetola na jang with those people that you live with ko lapeng ba berekan le bone in the streets, those that you encounter le ko di shopong hela tota le mo di kombing mo di basi. How do you transact? O buisa na yang le batho ba ba kgotsa ke go tsena o ithala ke beile beke ya meha o batla go nna mo stilong se and say tshwedella ko wena ka bogale hela jalo. And is that what is going on? It's time that as we talk, as we communicate, that the listeners do introspect and listen to what we're saying and participate in what we're saying and share their experiences. Do you take time, for example? Do you pause, reflect, and analyze your communication? Or do you just let things just come out anyhow? Do you take time to think before you utter a word? Or you just allow words to just come flowing out? And then normally when you just speak and you haven't processed, you didn't take time to pause, how does that kind of conversation end? You find yourself many times ending up in conflict or tensions simply because of what you said to somebody. What is your take in this? So when we talk about transactions, there are three transactions. We're looking at the ego states. Ego states are a form of transacting. Ego states here, not meaning ego in this case, not referring to what you normally call as ego. No, we are referring to a state of being. A state of being. There is, you can either communicate from the child ego, which is the remnants of the past experiences, or the parent ego, which is a play out of feelings and emotions and behaviors which were imbibed during our childhood, during those first 5 years of our life. We think bana ga ba le 5 years re ka ba treata anyhow, ra ba tsa anyhow, ra ba buisa anyhow ka gore ke ngwana ke. That by so doing we are shaping them. Those feelings that they have as we shout and scold and beat them get imbibed into their belief system, and then shapes who they become. And it also shapes how they are going to be communicating. Whereas the adult ego is based mostly or really on reality, assessment of the current situation, is looking at the here and now as it unfolds. It's not impacted or mostly is not influenced by my past childhood upbringing or by the feelings of how my parents or my grandparents or the relatives or the community treated me. It's okay, I'm looking at this situation, it's unfolding, how do I address it, and processing it before I act and before I utter anything. So our communication falls into these categories. Yeah, these three ego states. The parent, the adult, and the child. Ego states.
All right. Already to do my FM, more talk, more music on the other side of 12 of 1 on the other side of 1:30. More the different characteristics are the different egos or the parent ego, the child ego, the adult ego. Already to do my FM, more talk, more music 87.9, 300.9, www.dmfm.co.bw, Khosa DSTV audio bouquet channel 919. The more emotionally and physically in sync for any counseling you can contact your car plus mo megaleng wa 17270 Monday to Friday between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Mo seke ba fetwa.
Now, let's get back to the music. Bringing you all the essentials. Stay home, listen to my FM. More talk, more music. Incredible.
It's called Good Life. Yao Benaman 87.9, 200.9, www.dumafm.co.bw, Khosa DSTV audio bouquet channel 919. Already they emotionally and physically in sync. 3500131762818885. I can go you can join in the conversation. When I make house thing, are you the person who was assertive? Maybe they in that assertiveness. Three ego states in we have the parent, we have the adult, and we have the child. We just had an amazing conversation of sometimes we can we go through in our childhood. They always come back to haunt us. And we can pass that into the next generation.
Yeah, because the way you were treated, if you are functioning from the parent ego, you are using, this is the way I learned it, and this is how it's supposed to be done. You do it my way, you do it the way I was learned. So then we pass on what we learned from our grandparents, from our mothers to our children, and they're going to pass it on to their children. If we do not engage and try and change the way we approach our children and realize what bana le maikutlo how ke bua le ngwana ke ka teng go khana go mo thusa botho. The same way that if somebody were to talk to me in a certain way, it will hurt my feelings. Ngwana ga go lena o na le maikutlo. The next, if we don't re sa ba re ke le maikutlo, re hella re na le bana ba eleng gore ba hella ba commit suicide again. Ngwana go ta mo ithela a ipolaile go dile mekgekgetheme ya makwalo a kere a bua ka ga eleng gore o le o motsere ka teng wena o motsere ka teng mme when you were not aware, you thought you were doing what is right. Why? Because that is how you learned it. That is how you were raised, and therefore you think that is how you should be raising bana ba humpieko. We are not saying parents should be lenient with bana babon. Let's go down with this discussion here, these three ego states for the so that we can be able to see how this evolves and how this comes about and how it can be helpful to us. For example, when you look at the parent ego, because we are looking at The parent ego states we're looking at the behavior, we're looking at the thoughts, we're looking at the feelings, which were copied from our parents and parental figures in the society. Se ne ba se dira. O gola o lebeletse wa o kopas o anywa gone mo ya nya iletse ruta e mo maleng.
Yeah.
And then the adult ego states behaviors and thoughts and feelings is a thing, those which are in direct response to the here and now, to what is happening now, but it looks at that rationally. Without bringing in the past into the picture. The child ego states behaviors and thoughts and feelings here are a replay from the childhood, a replay from the past. This ego states can be found in anybody. It doesn't necessarily mean that parent ego states you are a parent.
Yeah.
You can be a person with no children and be functioning from this state. Adult ego can even be found a young person functioning from this ego state. It doesn't mean they're already maybe an adult. It may be a young person. And the child ego state also, there are some adults, elderly people, old people who are also functioning from this ego state. It's behaviors and thoughts and feelings that are just a replay from their childhood. Now, let's look at the characteristics. How do you do it?
Yeah.
Where does it show up? You'll be able to reflect and say, oh, I've seen myself do that. I've seen myself do that. Like, for example, the parent ego state, it's nurturing, it's controlling, it's overprotective.
Yeah.
Anger comes in here because ke dumela gore ke le motsadi ke nna ke itseng gote ke nna hela ke ka guide o tshwanetse o ka utlwela ka nna wena o ka kwa nna le ka khelo kana le seabe. The finger pointing, the behavior setting ke ha ke tabo ke bua le wena ke go supa le ka monwana yana wana, the finger pointing thing.
Yeah.
The patronizing attitude, the judgmental and critical, over criticizing my child. Yeah, even for trivial things, rather than without using insults and holding, hurting feelings, words unto my child.
Yeah.
The overwhelming posture and the authoritative posture. Have you seen, Thabiso, where you look at your boss or you look at your mom or your dad without them uttering any word? That look. The look that tells you stop what you are doing.
Yeah.
The look that tells you without them saying any word that you the look that just freezes you in your tracks. That when they stare and give you that look, you know I'm in trouble. What did I do now? Now, what did I do? Did I do something? Did I say something wrong? Where did I go wrong? That is the parent ego. These are the characteristics that the parent ego states. And then when you go to the child ego, physically energetic, fights back and is playing tricks, always playing tricks. Many times expresses sad expressions. They show despair whenever the tantrums. The sometimes, and then the whining voice and the rolling of eyes. We have seen this the shrugging of shoulders and the teasing. Sometimes when they are happy, the teasing and the giggling, the baby talk, and at times they utter things like, things never work out for me. And their reasoning is dominated and controlled by anger and despair, controlled by my gudo. They utter things like, nobody likes me. Nobody? Really? Then you ask them, do you think your mom loves you? Yes. Do you think your dad loves you? Yes. But you said nobody. Nobody loves you. So that causes them to think. And they will be uttering things like, everybody hates me. really? You mean the whole world? And you ask them, how many friends you have? You find they do have friends. Therefore, at least it means not everybody hates you.
Yeah.
You do have some people out there who like you just the way you are. So once they reflect in that you are helping them to shift away from those negative feelings and the negative image they have of themselves. And you say, but where is the negative image coming from? You listen to these characteristics. These same characteristics, you may find them in an adult who, when you are engaged thereafter, they are sulking, they are not talking to you. When you then decide to cut communication, you are sulking. That is sulking that adults do. You had an engagement, you had a family meeting, somebody said something, part of your family, and things didn't go well. Next time they have an event, you stay away and you don't show up. That child ego, you are sulking as an adult. Kana kung meeting wa magadi o go lenyalo or whatever o malome o rangwane o rakgadi batho ba le last time kana bana ba ntira 1 2 3 and you decide not to go for those meetings. You are sulking. That is child ego. You're operating from that child ego. And adult characteristics are rational examination of facts, consideration of people's feelings, treating others in the way that you would like to be treated as well, if you are functioning from the adult ego state. And then assertively expressing yourself, what you want, what you wish to see happening, and then paying attention, attentiveness to those you are engaging with, showing interest in those you are discussing with. You see that the adult is different from the child ego state, is different from the parent ego state. This is somebody who treats you at the same level as an equal. O iseng gore o botlhokwa le nna ke botlhokwa. Maikutlo a go a botlhokwa le a me a botlhokwa.
Yeah.
And he's engaging with that. Gore o dira ditshwetso tse di sa laolweng ke maikutlo. O dira ditshwetso tse leng gore they are based on facts and what is on the ground right now. The other characteristic ke gore this person is non-threatening. Ga a tshosetse a tshosa batho. And is non-threatened. They understand who they are and what they want out of life, and therefore they are able to engage with people in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
They have the ability to decide and to plan, come up with plan of actions of what to do next based on facts, not on rumors and gossip and hearsay. Outside the church, for example, abstaining from attending a family meeting because we do le hoti semang mangonare jano gora gore ga o to go ya bokopanong bone bo ba lelapa ba family. Child ego state at its best playing out in your life. In adult ego state, you reason and you use I statements. Like, if I'm not happy with something, I would focus on the behavior that is causing me unhappiness, and I'll be saying, I feel hurt by 1, 2, 3, 4. How bad you don't bear grudges. You just say how you feel. I feel hurt. I feel disappointed. I feel angry. I feel this. Whatever you may be feeling, you say it out. By 1, 2, 3 that has happened makes me feel this certain way. An adult.
Yeah.
Ego state or function amicably in a way that it's a win-win situation. You are happy, I'm happy, I express myself, and you get to hear what I'm saying. Somebody say, okay, then what are the examples in communication that we can use?
Before re hetela go scenario tse leng gore re iphitlhela these states di le mo tsone ke batla gore re ha moragonyana e be re lebelela yone transactional analysis le assertive communication gore re dinyalana yang le ka eleng gore re tloetse go nna re communicate ka gone like the cultural way of communicating. Re itse gore ngwana ke motho e leng gore wa ngwasela ga ile gore gona le gore se tsora nne boikobo ga ile gore gona le sengwe mogolo obviously we know gore o ha kae. So where do we link the three concepts?
I think you are right to bring that up. Our culture is good. Our culture at the same time plays a role, has an impact on this transactional and assertiveness and self-esteem and self-confidence that we're talking about.
Yeah.
In the sense that I can have the ngwana ha hetoli butsadi.
Yeah.
You don't talk back at the parent. But then it means we are muzzling our children not to speak. Banna ba hupetse, right? Ha banna ba hupetse ka maikutlo. Kana bana boneba, ga se ba maloba. Ba rutiwa ko sekolo mo curriculum ya bone ya guidance and counseling to be assertive. To be able to assert themselves, express themselves in an assertive way without disrespecting the mom or the dad or the parents or the grandparents. Hona le gore bana ba ka supa gore se se diragalang se ba utlwisa botlhoko jang se ba tsaya jang without disrespecting and talking anyhow to the parent.
Yeah.
When they do that, that kind of transaction, they'll be functioning from the adult ego state. And therefore, they can be heard and be listened to. But some parents, nonetheless, even if ngwana ataka wikobo, ka maitseo, a kopa gore a express, a supe gore a bue gore o tsega ya moteng ka ditshwetso dingwe ditiragalo dingwe tse di diragalang. A re tsaya bana ba ene gore their parents are going through divorce, for example.
Yeah.
If parents are going through that difficult time, that child is confused and doesn't know what's going on and feel rejected and think probably the dad or the mom are splitting because of them. They want to be assisted, to be helped, and to be heard. Because children are to be seen and not to be heard. Express. I think that is how transaction, analyzer comes in.
Yeah.
The thing is, do we pay attention to what we say before we utter a word? Even as a child, when you approach your mom, your dad, your parents to express do you go to them openly with respect to say how that makes you feel?
Yeah.
But and I'm just going to talk any higher that will not go well with the parents. That will just be clear disrespect.
Yeah.
And I don't think there will be any parent motsadi mongwe hela o ka amogelang gore ngwana gagwe a ka ta a mmuisa ka tsela e leng gore e supa lenyatso ga gona thompho le tlotlo mo teng. But ra re botsadi re etsang bana ha ngwana a bata go bua, bana le bone ba re etse batsadi mme bana ga ba express maikutlo a bone re se ka ra ba ithela ba committile suicide ba ikadiletse mo ditlhareng mo.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is any parent out there who would want to engage with us. By they're experiencing probably challenge. How do I communicate and transact? Transactional analysis. How do I communicate? The most important thing is, do you pay attention to what you say? Do you pay attention to the behavior, the thoughts, and the feelings? If not, we may end up creating bana, shaping bana, barona ko hella ele bana ba ileng gore ka mosoro e lentse ile rona gape ra complaina gore ga ba re retsi gore ga ba re utlwe gore ba dira dilo tse di sa nna se.
Yeah.
Re lebala gore in the way we are bringing them up, in the way we talk to them, we are creating this kind of situation. That child may end up eventually becoming rebellious.
Yeah.
Rebellious, phaela mo teng ga gagwe o to go hella a go thokela maitseo o bo re ngwana yo ga na maitseo o mo phithela bo malomagwe le mo keteka a shapiwa.
Yeah. A rutle moreetsi mo 35001331 gore eno batla go tshwela reng Duma FM dumelang Duma re teng re le kae a re mo fe
let me get that one that's my dad. You didn't do that.
That's my dad.
Come on.
Okay.
Who's
that?
to understand assertiveness, in the whole. In most cases, I think something that is missing. When you look at people in different spheres, whether it's the managers, what they say, it gives you a clear picture for it. Today, they understand exactly the value of assertiveness. Transactional analysis. It speaks to so many things. One, there are three things actually: the intelligence, the conscience, and then also it touches more on your moral wardrobes.
Yes.
Now, when you have these three, which way and which route you should take. Okay. Now with my kids, this is the 17. You never handle the the power of wealth. Or you can exposed to good things, good life, everything. There is also the power of crisis or the power of dealing with any eventuality there. You live good, the way actually they transition here, they will understand how today I don't have this because financial are not good. Understand you in a manner that actually will say, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, they understand exactly what is happening, they understand you very well. And also, that culture, the future will still look bright. So, this is something that I wanted you guys really to touch on. And do you know when I say to you, I want to see you get back a transaction. And when you say no, you're simply refusing that transaction. Transaction may mean, and this is exactly what is critical. Now I am going to be worse off. I don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm just too busy. How can I highlight the characteristics that we typically gather? Boho had the kind of transactional analysis training and speak involved. When we need now to start understanding why people really behave differently because of those transaction analysis and they don't help us, or they'll never help them, or they'll never help the society with them.
Malome Gibson, thank you so much for swara tla ke rutlo ba ngor bare. Thank you khonne. Duma FM dumelang. Re tere le kae? Erra.
Nanti ready to never one bona bana ile mo healing na ke na le bone hela ha ba ba lwanyane bana ba re tsa mo ma lo khona go nna ha se le bone ba ke tsa ditila la dumella ise ra ba to go tsena mo form 3 mo form 4 form 5 la go dimo ko ha ina ka me bili ba to no ba rota tsono ba ka tsa ditile
Peer pressure.
Kabarari. No bararu wana ke hakuti masihu ditonsuri dinne yana ditala na atata kula peling na hasili wone don ke bana ba maka ditarata litotali meka ditaka starata ba utisi aba to zena ka ki wona ina editore ke ino baro ba kukunja ba ko pa dita ko dile na ga go bolela gona na tsetse dia taleng tota mo go batho ba ka bo
yeah
ka nna le bone ka ba ka re ka khodi ka ba ra wa moshimane a sela ka ga go kometse sekweleng go pili a fa ithuta se serious wa moshimane a tla ntela ke go botsa ditsala ra a ino ba to kgetsa go ha ke ke am kalma ro te ma di le no wa ke ke am kunta kiraya a ke ro ke tshwetsa matso ro ke yana khundiri
alright
Okay.
Ra lebogang gonne tla re utlwe ba bangwe gore ba re mo mogaleng. Thank you sir. All right, when ke re ke a motsa o se tsa re latlhegetse gongwe Wyllie a se re tla kwa motsubong re itsa stock. Hey, before that la ga le tla ke mo utlwe gore a reng Duma FM dumelang dumela se re teng re le kae I'll call you
hello
re mo gore
ba go itiela ba ba tsana gore ba rute gore bana ba rute bana gore maloma ngwana ke bana ba pataganelwe simple
Amen. Yeah.
Thank you Khone.
Yeah.
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 Thank you Khone. Are garele Wyllie re lebelle a reflection mo go leng gore ne re tsere bua
Mm. The callers have touched on very important issues. This extended family is still critical and important in our nuclear family. But yes, and the tendency to keep our children to ourselves, exposure to bomalome, borakadi, bomangwane, gore ba ba itse gore ke bomang ba khona o tsaya dikgakolo mo go bone. Ga a hupela gone ha ke sa motseye sente, ke gone mo ke a go mithela ikaleditse mo mabalelong gone. Wena sa ka ba itsile gore borangwane borakadi bomalome ba botlhokwa o ka ya go go bone o ka go open up to talk to them. They might be supportive, they might be able to help. But then in concluding, rather than going over what everybody else who was calling was saying, is so emphasize that the child ego state Ghana is where somebody is functioning from the felt concept of life. Life in being controlled by feelings. The way I feel, I say it out. Mafoko atwa anyhow, Boitsholo bonna anyhow, because the way I feel, I must say it out, or I must behave in the way that I feel. And then the parent comes from the taught concept. Ray Gibson was touching on this. The taught concept of life, which says, I learned it this way. Therefore, this is the way that you should do it as well. Because the generation ya technology, ya era we must just do things the way that naki ki tutile yalo ke hodisitso yalo rutilo yalo lo ana o tshwanetse go dire ka ha go ke re mo dire ka teng. And therefore we find that in many times using that concept doesn't seem to go well with banana. And then we are not saying batsadi should spoil bana. I want us, the parents, to hear us clearly. We are not saying they should spoil bana. We are saying the ego state you are functioning from. The adult ego state, the thought, thinking concept of life. Whereby mo botshelong wa itse pele ga o tsaya ditshwetso pele ga o tsaya action we engage mo seleng pele le ga o tswa ka puo o bula molong you have processed, you are thinking, you analyze what you are going to say and the impact and the implication is going to have. Let me say that let's take stock of ourselves as individuals. For example, when you talk to your children, which ego state do you find yourself functioning from mostly? When you talk to your spouse, Do you find yourself talking to him from the parent ego state? And then you don't want her or him to engage. And then the students re-engage, the transact, the colleagues, how do you transact? How do you engage? The supervisors, our supervisors, re-engage. Are we functioning from the child ego, where we will throw tantrums, and then I'm sulking. The in-laws, very critical. The in-laws. How do you engage with your in-laws? You become a child and you start throwing tantrums, or do you engage as like an adult? But in conclusion, in wrapping up, I want us to say the assignment that I could give the listeners, whether you're talking to your spouse, you're talking to your boyfriend, you're talking to your children, you're talking to your colleagues, pay attention and then pay attention to your behavior and your responses to the transactions between you and your parents. Suppose in Thabiso, your supervisor, you are due for leave and your supervisor comes in here and says to you, you cannot go on holidays, because you know very well that holidays are public holidays are a critical time for us to be making money. So how are you living? How would that make you feel, and how would you react? But you know you were due to go for leave. What would be your response? Think about that.
I'll feel disappointed, obviously, and I don't want to say bitter, but
And then it's normal to have those emotions and to acknowledge what I feel hurt, I feel angry, I feel upset, I feel frustrated. It's okay to be aware of how you feel, how that makes you feel, and then to be able to accept that I feel this way. But then how then do you communicate, transact with your supervisor to try and how Ngaladi Mike and throwing things around in the studio and doing all sorts of things, papers and whatever, and shouting at him, finger pointing like this, when Remote, Wawana, Unawira, and I behold it and we can I like and I get shouting at him. Child ego at its best. Calmly go down, sit down, request for a hearing, and engage with him. The previous year, past 3 years since the holiday, can we reconsider? Can somebody stand in for me?
Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us. For online on the call counseling, Yoka plus on 17 Yoka plus thing. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
God bless you.